tourism conference. You start off by talking about the three Cayman Islands and the diversification of each one of the islands and why that gives them strength in the marketplace of how we attract our visitors here. Our visitation has grown considerably in the last 3 years, which obviously I'm extremely proud of. From 12% increase, a 7% increase, 1% increase, and this year we will probably wind up around 2% as soon as the Kimpton opens. Reasons to come to the Cayman Islands are, number one, we know our market, but we have the highest per capita income in the region. We're the safest destination in the region, and we have the best attractions, and we manage the expectations of the guests when they come. We have a very high percentage of repeat guests. Repeat guests are really important because if you spend $100,000 to get people, and that $100,000, say that first time it brings 50 people and they continue to come, obviously you don't have to spend that again to get them there. So you build on that. So I think from a tourism standpoint, you would look at it if you were going into do a business case on our three islands, and you would say, why would you have a stable product, how do you grow the product? And the first thing is airlift. Second thing is matching that to hotel rooms. The third thing is the attractions that are there. When you analyze the market, which I'll give you a real example, we did in 2013, and we found that we had no new rooms coming online. So we have 5,500 rooms available between condos and hotel rooms in the Cayman Islands. And the challenge that I personally had, my ministry had, was how do we grow visitation? Because clearly understand that what the Cayman Islands export is tourism. That's how we get our money in. But when we looked at it, marketing is hills and valleys. And we needed to bring the valleys up closer to the peaks. The challenge was that with no new hotel rooms coming online, all of the peak season rooms were sold out and they were full. So the only opportunity we had was to look at the shoulder season and the low season and understand how we get guests there. Well, if history shows you that people really don't travel for vacation in those times, then you have to look outside the box. And we identified sports tourism, we identified medical tourism, and we identified conferences. So that gave us the ability to immediately go to people who arrange conferences and say, we would like to compete in the marketplace for you to bring your conferences. You can see that the success we've had is for us to bring a conference in January or February, it doesn't help us. But for us to bring a conference in May, it helps us. So there's a value to that. So if we say, out of the northeast of the United States, every person that comes spends $6,000 if they're on island for a week. And it costs us $500 to get that person there, then we're farther ahead. So we would target the areas that we had rooms available, and we would go and talk to people who put conferences on and basically make deals with them by giving them incentives to come. That's worked really, really well. And I think that's probably the initial spike that we had. A lot of that had to do with the shoulder and with the conference business because that can move the needle in a hurry. The second opportunity was sports tourism, which obviously for sports tourism we need the facilities to go along with it, which we've heavily invested in Cayman Brac. We're doing a little bit in Little Cayman, and we had to redo everything in Grand Cayman, basically. So we've put ourselves in a position to be in that market, and it's a market that you have to selectively look at. But I'll give you an example of success with that. Last year we had to make a decision of what we were going to do in the May time frame for increasing the shoulder season. So we had an opportunity to do the Cayman Invitational, and we said that we weren't interested in being a sponsor for the Cayman Invitational unless Usain Bolt could come. So that started the negotiation. Then we also had an opportunity to get Manchester City to come and have a tournament. So we said we aren't interested in the tournament unless Manchester City comes. So our overarching success with that was we didn't know that Bolt was going to go viral, but we had 400,000 hits on the Facebook viral page with Bolt. And the worldwide exposure for him being here and his first run leading up to the Olympics, when we valued the PR of that, was over $6 million. And then Manchester City, what that meant, I'll give you an example. We're the fifth largest financial center in the world. Financial pillar is not really growing, but it's stable. So you're in New York, you're in Geneva, you're in London, Dubai, you pick up the Financial Times, you're looking for different things globally, and you see Usain Bolt and Manchester City are in Grand Cayman on the same weekend. Immediately you say, what in the heck is going on in Cayman? You know, let me figure this out a little bit. And so that makes you think. So you see, you know, not only do you get more visitation of that, but you get more business that gets interested when you start moving into this upper echelon of global thought. So that's been really helpful for us. And then the medical tourism, obviously Health City's doing extremely well. And then the other part of medical tourism is stem cell, and a lot of the doctors have come down and associated with different practices in Cayman and bring people in for facelifts. The Health City's basically hard, and they spend 2 weeks in Cayman when they leave, so they recuperate them. The other part of it is when you see the success is coming, and now you have to add infrastructure for the people that are going to arrive. And the infrastructure should be to the expectation of the market that you try to attract them from. So if I was to take you to, you know, a Department of Tourism war room and say, our challenge today is to figure out where we're going to spend our money and how we're going to get people here in the right way. What you see is a big map of core market, which is the United States and Canada. And then you would see when you throw up the visitors that have come, where it sticks in the map. And what you'll find is that it's a retail theory of just make it easy and you can sell it. So if you look at the gateway cities that we attract most of our people from, you'll see it's New York, you'll see it's Charlotte, you'll see it's Atlanta, Miami, Tampa, Houston, Chicago, because we have direct air service. When you take that into consideration, you say, how do I make sure that my business is stable, and how do I make sure I reach the market I want to reach? So you would partner with your shareholders, Westin, Ritz, Marriott, Comfort Suites, Turtle Cove, all of the ones that are involved in marketing programs and have rooms in the market. And you would look at bringing in your electronic conversion. And a real simple example is target market is a family of 4. They have to make $200,000 a year to enjoy Cayman, and you want to reach them. You reach them by how they go online. So you obviously, you know the whole story. You buy search words. You look at things that they would have in common: Caribbean, romance, beach, all of those different ways. But once you get them, that you tourism, the government expense would have out the advertising that would reach somebody, and you target them. Because you take the zip code where the $200,000 income is, and you say, I want to penetrate this zip code because it's in New York and they can come out of JFK. So the first thing you do is you send them something on their computer that talks about the Cayman Islands. But then your partners know who you've targeted. So Ritz or Westin or somebody's going to, in the next 24 hours, send them a deal or something about their hotel. Then you're going to get JetBlue and Cayman Airways to hit them the second day. Start reinforcing them. Remember, 8 times. You need to hear about Cayman 8 times before it finally sticks. Then you think, okay, so now the wife usually makes a decision. She is going to look at, it's easy to get out of JFK. I fly straight in, non-stop. I'm happy with the Westin. I've got plenty of points that I can use. There's a deal going on. What's my family going to do? So you make sure that the attractions send them things about Turtle Farm, diving, tennis, sports, but making sure that they see it's easy, it's safe, it's comfortable, and there's a lot for us to do when we're there. And that gets them, and then once they come, if you deliver on their expectation and manage it, that's how you build repeat guests. From the sister island standpoint, it is all about lift. We identified that the reason that Cayman Brac and Little Cayman has tremendous success, Cayman Brac needs success. And it all revolves around lift and the expectation that you are put in the marketplace for the guests. Little Cayman people come to dive. They come to dive Bloody Bay Wall, the top 3 dives in the world. It's a bucket list dive, so the expectation is an out island expectation. They fly to Twinada, it has big windows. They don't mind, it's paved now, but they didn't mind landing on a grass strip because that's all what they expected. In Cayman Brac, the air service didn't match the expectation, so we've changed that. And there's another Saab coming in late October, so we'll have 2 right-sized planes that get people here in a comfortable way and matches the expectation. So we've had an 18% increase in Cayman Brac this year over year, for the last 2 years actually. The direct flight into Miami is working really well, and our increase in cargo has been around 13%, so those numbers match. This property itself here, you can see the range. We're trying to encourage another hotel that would be, this is around $1,400 a night, all inclusive. It's come and pick the food that you want and they cook it for you, 24-hour service. I'm sure you'll hear a lot more when you see the kitchen downstairs. Brac Reef is always, with reef divers, in the top 10 of dive destinations in the world. So they know exactly what they're doing. The market's strong. They run high occupancy, but now the second opportunity is something in between that, and that's what we're aggressively looking for, partners that would come and make that investment. And we actually have 2 investors coming in the next 2 months to look and see, and we feel comfortable that will happen. So there you have it. That's a quick thumbnail of our tourism and our ministry. I hope that generates some questions out of you. Kevin, I know you're good with questions.
Well, Dan, let's start off. When we had a presentation by DOT, I actually brought a question to them, which was a kind of a hard question, as why the Brac is not woman as much as in tourism as Grand Cayman, for example, per capita. And what they said is that they don't have the amount of rooms available, occupancy for the amount of tourists that could travel here. Do you see it in that way?
No, I think that's a great question. I'm quite happy to drill down and really explain it at length, because what happened is we didn't really understand the problem of transportation, because we said, oh, we have a jet that flies in. The jet flew at the wrong time. It didn't match the hubs in Cayman to get people here in a timely manner. So if you looked, and I tell you how this happened. There's a business case that was done on the airport, and in that business case, it said we needed to address the Little Cayman situation, lengthen the runway, and then the same plane that comes to Cayman Brac to go to Little Cayman. So we went over and we had a meeting with all the stakeholders in Little Cayman. And they said, look, we're running 86% occupancy. Every year it gets better. We're happy with the runway. We're happy with the planes. We don't want any changes. So we left that, and I thought, this is really dumb. This is working perfect. Why do we want to touch this? The problem's Cayman Brac. So let's fix Cayman Brac. So here's the problem. The problem was, you're on Cayman Brac. Little Cayman has no lights. So the twin otter breaks down. And they know that the jet can come into Cayman Brac at night. But Little Cayman, the only way they can operate with the other twin otter that's flying is in the day. So all the people, the repeat guests we're going back to, that are staying in Little Cayman, catch their plane to go home in a timely manner because they always get them out. They have 60-something% repeat guests in Little Cayman. Cayman Brac has like 30-something percent because when the plane was down, they missed their connection. And remember, now with Expedia and the way bookings go, a lot of the times you're not protected if you miss the flight that you purchased at a low price. So you've got a 60-person dive group that basically says, I'll never go back to Cayman Brac because I missed my flight and they didn't protect me and I had to spend an extra $700 to get home. And you compound that 6 times a year, and that was a major problem that kept us really flat. So I think that not only did Saab or a 30-seater plane right size the situation, but it also gives us the ability to move people in a very timely manner now that these kind of things don't happen. We had an occasion 3 weeks ago on a Saturday when the weather came, when the Saab broke down Saturday morning.
That was us.
That's us. Yeah, that was us.
Well, there was a group of 15 people that were here, okay, that got left and missed their connections. And that was the first time we had really received a major complaint like that in probably 9 months in the ministry. And it was exactly that, you know. They didn't get vouchers, they didn't get protected, they had to repurchase tickets, they didn't get home till a day late, they didn't get the proper human interactions with staff, and it just made us even more convinced that we believe we understand what the issue is now. So now that this problem is fixed, you see people calling us about investing here rather than us beating the bushes to go after them.
Well, I'd say this much to you, as far as our experience with Cayman Airways there that day. No one offered any sort of explanation of what was happening, update was what happened, until we took the initiative to actually walk outside to the ticket counter ourselves to try to get some answers. So, in addition to what they did for us after, we didn't really take that initiative. We would have been there till 4 or 5 o'clock evening without any sort of answers. So, because we had to make a decision, obviously. So I think the customer service at that level, at the operational level in Cayman Airways, definitely needs to improve as far as informing passengers and customers at the end of the day of what their options are and what the issues are. I mean, some people would rather just stay the night over rather than sit in the airport for 4 or 5 hours. So those little things, I think Cayman Airways definitely need to be improved on. Far as the growing of the tourism here in the Brac, do you think you have enough rooms available as you grow, or are you going to have to?
Well, that's another good question. What happened to start with, we were able to absorb an 18% increase in arrivals with no new rooms. Okay? But the reason we could do that is because of private villas. Private villas for us and for Grand Cayman, it's Airbnb, vacation rental by owner, fastest growing market. It's a great market for an island because people rent villas all over the island. They rent all the way up to Darnley's Place in Spot Bay. You can see them spending in that area of the island. North Side is another great example. The main calls we get from North Side is that we need more garbage pickup because their occupancy is so strong now, basically with Airbnb. So, but that's rental, and it's an upscale market. So we've been very successful with that. We've been able to identify with the district admin tourism website how people can make reservations and get the information out. So for us to grow any more now, we need rooms.
A quick question, Minister. Same presentation. I know one of the I would say topic or discussion that was said particularly for BRAC, is that a lot of the locals themselves are a bit resistant to having too much growth here, too many visitors coming. Do you find that it's true, and so the mindset of the local Brackers need to change, or you think that's just the...
Well, I think that actual, the acceptance is changing. I think that one of our really competitive edges is if you get to meet Cayman Bracker and you get to know them. I'm a Cayman Bracker,
Yes.
so we're very genuine in, if you come to visit, we're going to make sure you get something to eat, something to drink while you're there. If you don't accept anything, we're going to pack up a little bag and send you off with it and make sure you take something. So that is getting them into the community. And as an example, we were talking about how the villas stretch throughout the island. I think that interaction not only helps the visitor, but helps the local population as well to make new friends. So growth is always a challenge. It's always some hoops to jump through. But I would have to say, we're a safe island. We have a great indigenous population, and I think that's a strength that we have to work on.
And I have a quick question for you, and then I have other students. I went to Little Cayman. Personally, I rather Little Cayman. I find it so unique. But I find that there's a lot going on in Grand. There's a big pickup here for Brat, but apart from the diving for Little Cayman, it's pretty much like off the radar. Is that something deliberate, or there is going to be some new developments apart from diving on Little Cayman?
Well, we partner with the stakeholders, and the stakeholders, especially in Little Cayman, are very sophisticated. Peter Hillenbrand, who owns Southern Cross Club, knows this market, runs, high 80s, has a real understanding of who he wants and how he wants to get him there. Obviously, Little Cayman Beach Resort is extremely successful. Gladys Howard, Howard Springs, really well known. That's how they like it. And I think that drives property value and value up as well, because they've been able to increase their prices every year.
Okay, so from the ministry perspective, they pretty much allow them just to keep it as is compared to the government taking on any new initiative that side.
Well, we try to use the 3 islands as a 3-island destination, and we advertise it like that. When you see one of our ads, you'll see Grand Cayman, Cayman Brac, and Little Cayman, and each one of those are unique. But clearly understand the model in Little Cayman is to rent you something for a week.
Right.
So they don't want you to come to the Cayman Islands for a week, spend 2 days at the Ritz, 2 days in Cayman Brac, and 3 days with them, because they've just lost 3 days of rental opportunity. So Little Cayman is for us, when we look at our spend, when we look at our partnership, the stakeholders there know what they invested, they know how they're going to get the money back. It's kind of the Ritz or Weston or another. If a company can invest $500 million, they know how they're going to get the money back. So what we do is, how I explained before, we try to partner with them to make sure that we manage our spend the best possible way. I'm sorry.
Is there any plans with the Alexandria?
I hope so.
Oh,
I'm very
okay.
serious.
It was privately owned.
Mhm.
Is that something that the government would acquire and redesign?
Well, I don't think Mr. Dilbert wants to sell it. So
Oh, okay.
if Mr. Dilbert, the government did, the closing of it was centered around the smell of the pond it was built on. But it's a private sector investment, and he chose to build it there. So since he closed, or while he was there, we've had a study done on what caused the smell, and it's basically not enough oxygen. It's a stinky pond, not enough oxygen in the pond. The algae dies, and then it floats to the top and it floats down. And we would be thrilled if we would open back up. But if he made a decision, a commercial decision, that he was going to close, there's nothing the government can do to force him to open.
So the issue that he had, wasn't that something that could have been determined prior to him building, like planning, inspection, and that kind of stuff? And
But I think that anytime you do something for commercial gain, there's a risk. And that would have been his decision to make, whether he wanted to spend $2 million for a piece of land on the water or $100,000 for a piece of land where he built.
okay.
But I'm not to judge his commercial decision, but that's how I see it unfolded.
Okay.
So with all you've heard, if we don't get people like yourself involved in tourism, we're going to fail. Because the two pillars we sit on, finance is absolutely flat, and the other part of finance is that a lot of the human capital jobs are being replaced by computers. So when you look at an office that used to be buzzing with people walking around and doing things, now you can see 50% of that's being done by a computer. So that's a challenge to look at other jobs that are available in the Cayman Islands and make sure that we have human capital to take advantage of. We've been really successful with the hospitality school and getting people involved, and immediately as they come out, they get more than one job offer. About 50% choose that they like the industry and wind up going back to UCCI or ICCI and looking at an associate or bachelor's. We've been able to partner with Johnson & Wales, and we're extremely pleased with the partnership there and their scholarship offering of $15,000 along with the government scholarship. Puts it in about a $40,000 range. So the student doesn't have to borrow or worry about when they come home or having a bill to pay back. This year, when I went to the tourism scholarship evening, we had graduates from